So, one of the things that, I'm following on Twitter X or X.com is the hourly Archie Sonic. And hourly Archie Sonic likes to, well, as the name implies, on an hourly basis or so, upload pages, if not panels, from the old Archie Sonic comic book, which I still believe would be around today if it wasn't for all the BS that happened behind the scenes. But anyway, one of the things they do is when they put up these pages or panels, those that follow them, get talking. And I think they realize that that's what it's going to cause. It's going to cause people to talk. And that's what it did here. Because the one they put up recently, as of today, I believe, was the third to last page of the epilogue to the Iron Dominion. The Iron Dominion arc, that is. Where Sally and Monkey Con, or Ken Con, as Ian Flynn, named him, finally had their moment, their admittance of feelings, which we pretty much knew was there, and of course their, long-awaited kiss on the lips, under the moonlight. But what this also was for Sally as a character was an eye-opener for her. It was an eye-opener for her as well as a major character development because, you would think, all right, she's hooked up with Ken Con, she's going to stick with him, and Sonic can be a free bird, if you will, be, as he is, constantly pursued by Amy and so on. But that wasn't the case. Instead, the way the script put it, for Sally was as much as she had, developed, feelings-wise and relationship-wise with Ken in such a short time, she couldn't just uproot herself from her lifestyle. She couldn't just uproot herself from her family, her friends, her kingdom, and mostly she couldn't just move on into a new relationship without trying to figure out whether or not there was something left to salvage when it came to Sonic, because even her own admittance, in this issue during this moment said it best. She ended things on the wrong foot, aka the slap in issue 134. So she basically believed, and rightfully so, that she has to at least give Sonic an opportunity to see if maybe he still feels the same way about her. And thankfully, thanks to some very decent writing and all that, throughout the issues that followed, we did see that, yeah, there's still something there between them that did come full circle in 222. Unfortunately, he didn't last long because Ian decided, yeah, I'm sick and tired of the debate of who he should be with. I'm just going to end it. And that's pretty much what he did after going through the whole Sally getting shot down, Sally getting saved because Sonic reversed time and saved her in time from being blasted, her sacrificing herself to roboticization, weaponization, and so on, repetitive, chasing of trying to get her back, until we did get to the soft retcon and reboot, which did bring her back, but not the way Ian Flynn had planned. But anyway, getting back on topic. The one thing about this Monkey Con Sally Acorn relationship, during the Iron Dominion arc, mostly, from I would assume 207 to 211. What was interesting about it is it reminded me a lot, and I've mentioned this before, it reminded me a lot of other relationships in other franchises that I would watch and read that were played out very similar with some of the main characters. One major example I've always given was Zack Morris of the original Saved by the Bell. In case you guys don't know, Zack Morris would be, mainly hooked up with, Kelly Kapowski, who was kind of like the Sally, if you will, of Saved by the Bell. Her, like basically Zack and Kelly were the Sonic and Sally of that show. Anyway, Zack was always mainly hooked up with her from basically the very beginning. I wouldn't, now I'm not saying Good Morning Miss Bliss beginnings, no, I'm talking Saved by the Bell, as we knew it on TNBC. Anyway, he was always hooked up with her, from the very beginning, from freshman year to the end. And everybody that was a fan of that show, young and old, those that watched it initially on Saturday mornings, they were always cheering for them to get together. No matter the highs, no matter the lows, no matter the obstacles or who they were going to be with in between, they were always cheering for them to get together. And eventually it did finally happen, in the college years, culminating with them, getting married in the Wedding in Vegas movie that they did as the finale to the original Saved by the Bell. Now, with that said, the reason I made sort of this comparison to the two is because Sonic and Sally are kind of the same way. Zack Morris, I used him primarily as an example because you look at the movie Hawaiian Style, you look at the summer job episodes they did, as well. You look at the inclusion of the Tori character when the Jesse and Kelly characters were written out of the series as going on a I guess you could say culture exchange study of modeling or whatever it was. And then, of course, like I said, you even look at someone like Lisa, and again, I mentioned Hawaiian Style, right? I mentioned Hawaiian Style, and the mother girl that he fell in love with, who was just a few years older than him. You take a look at all those scenarios, and you wonder to yourself, well, if they were never going to be permanent, and we knew Kelly was going to be permanent, why do it? Well, because they needed something for the plot. They needed something for the plot, for the story. See, Kelly in Hawaiian Style even fell for somebody, but that somebody turned out to be a scumbag. But anyway, I bring up that comparison for Sally and to an extent Sonic because they went through the same stuff. Sonic pre-122 kind of went somewhat through the same stuff with wondering if it's going to be Sally or Mina he's going to end up with. And then even post-122 and all that later on, and then post-134, Sonic ends up with Fiona, and it's like, back and forth. There's a temporary tease of him and Bunny. Sonic basically has gone through it, and so has Sally. But when she was hooked up with Monkey Kong, again, as I mentioned, it reminded me a lot more of those comparisons because of the fact that her romance in the Iron Dominion with Monkey Kong, just like Zack's romance in Hawaiian Style and in the beach episodes, the summer job episodes of Saved by the Bell, as well as the Tori episodes, as they're called, with the Tori character, and so on, they were only meant for the story, for just that storyline, and that was it. As soon as that storyline was over, those romances were removed. They were forgotten, and basically Zack was able to move on, basically back to Kelly. I mean, even when they did the college years, they did something similar with both him and Kelly, but in the end, it inevitably led to them, getting back together and eventually getting married. And that's how Sally's relationship with Monkey Kong kind of felt to me. Like, it felt like it was only being done for that relationship, not relationship, but for that story only. It was being done just for that story, but it was being done to, help lay the foundation, to, rekindling the Sonic and Sally relationship. Thus, like I said earlier, you had the eye-opening, moment for her and the major character developing moment for her where she's realizing that, as much as she wants to be with King Kong, she can't be. She can't be because it'd be unfair to Sonic because of the way they broke things off there, or the way she broke things off there, and she just wants to see if there's anything left to salvage. And again, a lot of people, great character moment, great eye-opening moment for her character to help her bring her full circle, if you know what I mean. Now, honestly, not a lot of people were fond of, this shipping, even if it was temporary. Not everybody was fond of it, and I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree whatsoever. But, even though I wasn't fond of it, I was kind of mixed about it. Not too, not too like, oh, this is a cute thing, cute little ship here, and all that. I wasn't really on board with it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is bad. Why are they doing this? Da 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 da. I wasn't like that, because I knew, even initially when it happened, when it happened, that it was only going to be temporary. It was just going to be a temporary thing, and it was. And it was, because we knew after that Monkey Kong wasn't going to be back in the comics for quite some time, unless the story needed it. We knew that. We knew he wasn't going to return for a while. So why have him in a long-lasting relationship with Sally unless you were going to write Sally out of the picture? You weren't. Oh, because you knew she was very popular with the fans, and removing her even for a romantic situation was not that good of an idea. So honestly, her basically saying that she needs to give Sonic an opportunity to see if something's still there. Again, great character developing for her, full circleness, if you will. But again, it showed that what this relationship was temporary, and it was only meant to build that foundation that would lead to Sally and Sonic back together. Now, like I said, as I mentioned, not a lot of people were fond of it, at all. Some didn't even like it, to be honest with you. They didn't. They're like, why would you do this? Why are you pairing her up with him? It doesn't make sense. Especially if they read, the comics for a long time and realized the history between them. It's like, what sense does this make, right? What sense does this make? And I'm in total agreement with that. It's like it didn't make much sense, but it was necessary to basically get her as a character to kind of realize, hey, there are similarities between Monkey Kong and Sonic, to the point it's making her realize that, hey, maybe there is something there with Sonic I could still salvage and everything, and try to kind of rekindle, restart, reignite, and basically press into the future with, if you know what I mean. But again, even with that, it's like fans they didn't like it. They felt like it just didn't make sense, in the long run. Especially even if they didn't like it, they knew, like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't going to last. It was only for the story. They knew, like, why are you even doing this? It's not going to last. Are you just doing this to tease us or what, or something? And, one could feel that way, but the truth is it was being done to rebuild her character, and recognizing that, hey, there is still something there possibly between her and Sonic, and she needs to try to see if she can reignite that. And as I mentioned, good story writing and everything afterwards, issue after issue after issue, built to that. And finally we got the moment in 222. We did. But yeah, looking back on it now, though, there are some sarcastically, if not genuinely, very okay, very okay, if you will, with the ship. They, looking back on it, they realized, yeah, I may have not been fond of it, or I didn't like the idea of them doing it, or teasing it, or even potentially going all the way with it, but looking back at it, now I understand. It's like now when you look back at that relationship, that was in Dominion between Sally and Monkey Kong, Ken Kong, it's like you now understand the reason for it being. You understand why it existed. It wasn't just there to give Sally a potential new suitor or anything like that. No. It wasn't just there for that. It was there to get her back to being the Sally that realized, hey, Sonic may be, a bit of an egomaniac at times, maybe more, maybe more like, attack first, ask questions later kind of person, or Hedgehog, but he's the Hedgehog that I like. She realizes, her character developing here realizes that, hey, her and Sonic might be different when it comes to doing a mission, but that's why she likes him, because opposites attract. It's an opposites attract thing, if you will. Again, like I said, it wasn't just to give her another potential suitor. It was to wake her up and realize, hey, the similarities he shares with Sonic, the similarities he shares with Sonic, it's making her realize, yeah, maybe I should give Sonic another chance because, we might be different in some cases. Sonic might be more of a action first, questions later, individual, but that's what I like about him. Because she's realizing that not only is that what she likes about him, but she also realizes that, hey, she's the only one that could really, tit for tat with him, when it comes to getting him to understand, yeah, I get where you're coming from, Sonic, but this is why we need to wait and make this plan. This is why we need to wait and come up with a plan before you do anything. She's able to kind of reason with him as much as he doesn't like to be reasoned with, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's why the relationship was made, honestly. And here's the thing: you could have done it with anybody else. You could have chose someone completely new, and all that, and done it with them. You could have brought somebody out from the Satayam universe, done it with them. But Monkey Kong was the best candidate. And I think Ian Flynn basically realized that, hey, if I do this, if I tease this, it'll help her character grow. It'll help her character grow and realize that there's similarities between this guy and Sonic, and that maybe she needs to get back with Sonic and try to, try to restart what shouldn't have been destroyed, basically. And like I mentioned, I know I'm being repetitive when I say this, but good writing after this issue led to that rebuilding, and everybody appreciates that. They do. Everybody appreciates that, including myself. But yeah, that's why this relationship was made. And again, like I said, some people looking back on it now realize that. They realize it was done to help bring Sally's character full circle from a romantic standpoint, from a very understanding, like, yeah, I need to give the guy that I basically broke things off with because I was going through post-traumatic stress syndrome, if you will, and not telling him about it. I need to give him a second chance to see if I can, reignite the flame that we once had. So, so for people, and to me, for people to look back at that now and realize that's why this relationship happened, from my opinion, it makes them kind of more accepting of it. Yeah, they probably still didn't agree how it came about, but they're more accepting of it, realizing that there was a reason for it. And also, if you look at the comparisons, like I said earlier, with, let's say, Saved by the Bell and Zack and Kelly's characters, and what they went through to get back together and who they were with and everything like that, you put Sally and to an extent Sonic in those same positions, and well, you kind of see why people always rooted for them, or rooted for both couples, I should say, to get together, because to them it just felt right. And for Ian to take it the way he did, take it in the direction he did, was probably the best solution in my opinion. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. When you look back at the short-lived Monkey Kong Sally Acorn relationship in the comics, how did you feel about it initially? Did you like the idea that it just was suddenly going to be a thing? Or did you see and realize that it was only being done for the story only? And did you kind of have an idea that maybe it was also being done to not only, put a romance plot or subplot or romance sub-arc, if you will, in there between the characters, between two characters, but did you kind of realize it was going to be something that would bring Sally back to back full circle and try to reignite with Sonic, romantically? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Love to hear from each and every one of you. And until then, talk to y'all later.